welcome to a new video. First of all, thank you so much guys for the 1000 subscribers. I would like to thank each and everyone who has subscribed to my channel, who has keep watching my channel, shared my videos with people and liked it. So keep liking my content and watching it while I keep on producing more and more content. Okay, so without further wasting time, let's get to the main topic of today's video. So in today's video, I'm starting a new type of new type of discussion where we'll create Python programs to automate math. So we'll basically, the common things that we do in math, we will be automating it using our Python programs. Okay, so the first video that I'll be automating is the main function that I'll be using is to round off a number. Okay, so we have everyone has basically learned how to round off a number during their school young years, and it's really necessary for math students since when it comes to statistics, different analytics, etc., because rounding off is like the basics of knowing some information of a number up to a certain extent. Okay, so now you guys would tell me that why am I creating this YouTube video? I could just use the round function, like I just give you an example, num is equal to 5.45, and I could just print round, and I could just provide the number as my thing, and yeah, I get the rounded off value, okay, of 5.45. But I just thought, what if I create my own program so that I improve my basics of programming and can portray this this project to other people, so it would be pretty fun and interesting to create such a project. Okay, so without further wasting time, let's get to a basic understanding of how will we be creating this project. Okay, so let me just take you to this drawing board. First of all, excuse me for my bad handwriting because I'm not good on writing on different screens. Okay, so the first thing is when we go to round off a number, you usually see a number with three different types of numbers we would check out. So the first one is simple 9.0 or 9.0, whatever, so it just gets rounded to 9. So that is one thing in a round off method. Then another round off method is where we get a number of 9.4. Okay, so just let me change my pen color. We get a number of 9.4, and then we have to just round it off to 9, since the main logic goes that the last number before the decimal place should be greater than 5 greater than 4. If it's greater than 4, the number gets rounded to the next value, otherwise it remains on the same position. That's pretty self-explanatory. Then we get another set of options where a bigger input is given, where we have got a big 4 decimal places, so we keep on reducing. Basic, this is pretty simple. 3 is less than 4, less than 5, so we reduce it to the next decimal place, and that we reduce it to 7, and then 7, the one extra one is added since 7 is greater than 5, and we put it to 9.6, and since 6 is greater than 5, the number gets rounded to the next integer. Okay, so that is 10. So it's pretty simple. What we usually do is keep on checking the last number. So we have to design such a program where we will be taking the input, say let me just write down something. Just give me a while. Okay, and where's the drawing? Okay, so what we will be doing is we'll take a number 9.47. okay, so what this program will have to do is first separate the two numbers. Okay, we'll have to separate 9 and we'll have to separate 0.47. okay, so 9 will be a new number and 0.47 will be a decimal. Okay, so let me just write that down, decimal. Okay, yeah, so this much is enough. So that is what we need to do. Then we need to take the last number of a decimal and we need to check if it's greater than 5. If 7 is greater than 5, we will remove 7 from the decimal in place, and we will add 1 to value to the number 4. So the next time it will become 9.5. okay, so I hope you guys understand. So now let's go to the main coding of the program. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just cut off this whole hash tags, and I'll just create a number. Say our number is 5.89. so the round of value should be round of value round off value should be equal to 6, right? So what I'll do is I'll just comment these things off so that it does not interfere with our main program. So what I'll first thing to do is, as a programmer, the best thing to do is define a function, and I'll just define it as round off. Okay, and define a round off, and obviously I'll be taking a number as an argument. And so the first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply break down the number present, like this is a number 5.89. I'm going to break it down into two different numbers. One is 5, that's a new number, and one is our decimal number, so it's going to be 5 and 2 number. This number is going to be broken down into, split it into two numbers. Okay, so I'll name this variable as name a variable of decimal and store 89 in that, and I'll name a variable new number and store 5 in it. Okay, so what I'll do is, first thing to slice through a number, you need to convert it to a string, because you can't slice through an integer. That's just not allowed in programming languages. So what I'll do is, first thing I'll convert it to a string. Num is equal to string of num. Okay, now the next thing is, I will say that I will divide it into two parts and save it in the list. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just name a list called divide. You could just name it anything, and I'm going to use the string method, that is split. So what this split will do is, we'll split the number at split a string at a certain position. So that position will be specified by the arguments in the parentheses. So what I want to specify, I want to separate it at the portion where the dot is present, where the full stop is present. That is like the beginning of the decimal place. So what I'll do is split, and in the bracket I'll just put a dot. And now let's just print this divide list and see what we get present in it. Okay, so let me just call my function round off. Why did it not come? Round off. Okay, and let me just provide a number, say 5.89. okay, and let me run it. Okay, so you see a list. The first is 5, that's a string, and the next number is that also is a string, and that's 89, that's going to be our decimal place. Okay, so we have got the first part of our program working perfectly. Now what we will do is, we will slice through the list and we will name them into new variables. Okay, so what I'll do is, new num is equal to divide. Okay, so what is this? Divide, that's our list name, and the new number, that's 5, is present at the first position, that is the 0th index. So I'm going to put in the parenthesis 0, and now I'll say decimal is equal to divide, and in this in this square brackets I'm going to place 1 as my index, since 89 is present at the second index. Okay, so that's pretty simple. We have separated our numbers, and let's just print it and check out what we get, just to show you guys. New num. Okay, and I'm going to use decimal, and let's just run it. So we get 5 and 89, which looks pretty simple, nothing complicated going into this. Now the next part that I'll say is the main thing, that is handling the decimal, making a algorithm to design the decimal to round it off each and every number. Okay, so what I'll do is, I'll just indent into my function, and I'll go to the next line, and now I'll check. So what we'll have to do is, we'll have to run our first case, that is, I'll just show you, if our length is greater than 4, if our length of our integer is a single digit, that is here 9.4, we will have to just directly check whether if the decimal is greater than or equal to or less than 5. But if the len of our decimal is greater than 1, we will have to do this procedure of reducing it to 1, and then we can simply just do the checking. So what I'll do is, first, if len of decimal is greater than 1, okay, if it is greater than 1, then we will have to do a big algorithm. So that is, just let me pass it for the timing. Else what I'll do is, now that's the main part, like we have created the else condition for the decimal if it's a single decimal. Okay, single decimal. If so, now we'll create a small basic simple way of checking whether if it is greater than 5 or not. So in decimal, because at the start I also told you I converted it into a string, so I need to convert it by the int method. Okay, so I'll say if int decimal is greater than 4, I will say new num plus equal to integer of new num because it is greater than 4, right? So the number will get passed to the next integer. Okay, so new num plus 1, and that will get stored into a new num integer. And I'll just print this new num so that you all guys can see what's going on in the compiler. Else I will just print a new num, because it's not going to go to the next integer since the decimal is less than 5. Okay, so what I'll say is integer, print integer of new num, and now let's run this program. Okay, nothing happens since what's the issue? Because the thing is, the length of a decimal is greater than 2, and that greater than 1, and that I have not yet programmed. So what I'll do is I'll have to just remove one digit from my decimal, and now we'll have to run. Okay, I get an error. Let me just check. Cannot concatenate string into string. Okay, so what's wrong in this? Just give me a while. Okay, I'll just create a new variable. I think so it's giving me a problem because it's getting stored into the same this. So I'll just say n. Okay, and I'll just say n, and what's going wrong? N referred before variable assignment. Okay, so what I'll just do is I'll just create a n variable over here. Don't worry, I'll be changing it later, so you do not need to worry about that. And you can see it's gone to 6. Okay, so the most base case, the simplest case is working perfectly for us. Okay, that's 6. Now say if the decimal is less than 5, so now it should return 5. Okay, so that's returning 5 for us, which is working pretty simple. And now let's go to the main portion where we'll be checking if the length is greater than 1. Okay, and now we'll be programming for that. If the length is greater than 1, so what we'll do is first we'll start slicing. We'll start slicing from the last digit. Okay, so first we'll take 3, then we'll check if 3 is greater than 5, greater than 4. If 3 is greater than 4, then we will add one number to this whole number, and we will keep on doing it recursively. We'll be recursively doing it. So that is simple, going to be done by a loop. Okay, so I'm doing a for loop for j in decimal, and I'm obtaining the last integer, the last item. Okay, so last item of the string, so that's -1. Okay, I'm doing negative indexing, and -1 starts as the first index of a negative indexing. Okay, so that is the thing. I've got j of mine. Now what I'll say is if int of j, integer of j, again I'm going to code this pretty quick because you should be understanding what I'm doing. Integer of j is greater than 4. What I will say is decimal is equal to, so I'm going to remove that number. Okay, first thing I'm going to remove that j, because I don't need it now, because I've already sliced through it. So I'm going to remove it from the main decimal, and it's going to change. So what happens is, if you've got this number 5.89, what this does, this line 16, what the 16th line does is, let me just highlight it. This 16th line will remove the 9. Okay, so next line it should go to 5.8. Okay, so that is just slicing it off. So it's pretty self-explanatory, you should understand it. So what I'll do is I will remove it, and I'll create a new variable just temporary variable, and that I'll save it. I'll save integer of decimal. Okay, as in my temporary variable. And now what I will do is I will say decimal is equal to my temporary variable plus in 1. Okay, so what is happening is it's greater than 4, right? So this whole number, so what is happening is, here we've got this 5.8, but shouldn't be 5.8, should be 5.9, because 9 is greater than 4. So what will this program do in the line 18th line? It will do this. It will say 5. Let's just me comment it. 5.8 plus 0.1 is equal to 5.9. Okay, so that is what it's going to do. So that's why I've created that, and I'll again be changing it to a string variable. So I'll be making a string, because again we need to continue the slicing at this position. Okay, the slicing keeps on taking place. We are doing it recursively, right? So we need to again convert it to a string. So that's simple, that's done. Now we'll create the elif condition. Elif decimal isn't greater than the last position isn't greater, so that is int j, okay, that's our sliced number, the last position isn't greater than 5, then we will just slice the number and we will not do any addition. Simple. Decimal, slice it to -1, and now let's run this program and check what happens. Okay, so let me just print this at this if condition, and I'll print decimal. Okay, so let me just, in the arguments, let me put a 5.898. okay, I'll change this to 5.785. okay, so here what happened is it ran a loop where 5, okay, so what, 5 is greater than 4, so yes, so 5 got deleted from our integer, and that got one additional number got added to 8, and that 8 became 9. okay, so that's pretty simple. So that 8 became 9, and that's why 79 came in our loop. We will check again, we will check if our code, if our digit is greater than 1 or less than 1. okay, if the length, I'd say. okay, so what I'll say is, if len of decimal, if the length of my decimal is greater than 2, okay, if it's greater than 2, I will pass it, since I know I have to continue doing the same procedure again. But if my len of my decimal is 1, matlab it is over, I can't do any more iterations over it. okay, because that's the only thing, that's the base case that we did, 9.4. okay, so that at that moment what I'll do is, if it's 1, I will simply break through the loop. I will break through the loop, and it will take me to this position. It will take me to this position and do the same thing that we did. So what I'll do is, I'll break through the loop, and what I'll do is, now it's something confusing. You think what you do after breaking the loop is pretty simple actually. I'll just take this code that I created, I'll copy it, and then I'll just paste it. okay, I'll just paste it. okay, so I just did the indent. My length of my integer is greater than 2, I will pass. So I will continue the recursion again, it will recurse again. But if it sees that the length of my decimal is 1, it will break at that position. And what I will do is, if integer of decimal is greater than 4, then I will say new. I'll just copy the thing that I explained you all in the start, and now let me just run this part. okay, so it worked perfectly. It ran and came to 6. okay, so now we can just do some changes. Check out the customization of this program and check each and every case works. So 5.0 went to 5. Let me just check something else. 5.4 turned to 5, and everything is working perfectly. So yeah, that's it. We have created a simple round off function in Python using a simple basic splitting methods of string, and I've created my own algorithm. Yeah, that's it. So if you like my video, do drop a like. Check out the other videos on my YouTube channel. I'll be tabbing them on the right side. I hope you've been seeing them right now. And if you like such content, do drop a like, subscribe to my channel, and comment what you'd like to see in the further videos, and I'll bring them soon.